say.
Why?
I said, I have enough time knowing what I'm going to say.
Oh, I was just remembering something. I was having I already told you about this, but I was having a discussion with some ex-lawyer, retired lawyer or whatever. And he was saying through our discussion, he's like, no, in Article 3 and Article 6, it does allude to the judicial branch having the power to make law.
It says no such thing.
Yeah, I know. I read it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Let's read it over again. I look at Article 6, nothing in there. Article 3, nothing in there. What bugs me is he never really answered my questions. It's kind of just he was like he's
Yeah,
really spoke in generalities, actually.
That's what he no, that's what he learned in law school. And rather than going back and verifying that, no, it's no, that's what I learned. It's in there. Yeah, where? I don't know.
Pretty much. Oh, by the way, Paul.
Yes.
So there, my house rep and I were thinking. She's not technically my house rep, but she's one of the freedom fighters here. She and I both recognize. Well, all three of us, you included, recognize that there's a big lack of education amongst patriots, and she was having the idea of making an education series, um, kind of trying to show people what they can do or how much power they actually have. And I was thinking your input when it comes to the Constitution would be really valuable in those kinds of videos.
Oh, I got one thing I'll tell you now. One thing I'm going to tell the group.
Oh,
Why is Rumble not connected? Rumble must need a new key. I actually have put together. I just did this the other day, and I call it the no. Where's my live stream? Hang on a second. I want to get this. My Rumble isn't live streaming the way it's supposed to. Where is the live stream?
yeah, because
Live streaming. Oh, there we go. Live streaming.
her and I agree. It's too many people think that they need champions to solve the problem. I have so many people here thinking, oh yeah, the governor. What rubs me even the wrong way even more is there's another person running for governor. I've been having a discussion with his like media person or whatever. This person seems to be behind all his media, and he's railing on the current sort of incumbent. Like she's railing constantly, and she's saying X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, what do you mean? X, Y, and Z isn't her fault. That's not the role of her position in the government.
Um,
And it's like, wait, you're
sorry,
running.
I'm trying to deal with a live stream issue right here, so I'm having a hard. I can't focus on both at the same time.
Yeah, well,
I'm. I set up the live stream. Why is it not giving me the live stream key? Because it says it ended. What the heck? All right, well, let's just do this. We will do a new live stream and figure that out later.
oh my gosh, those rifle lights are so bright.
There we go. Oh, come on. Upload the stupid file you want, you piece of. Sometimes technology really likes to bite you in the backside. You know that? Yeah, I've selected a video. Why won't you upload it? Upload. All right, let's do this. It just won't up. I want to upload the stupid file. Thank you. For those watching on the live stream, we're having a slight technical difficulty with one of the streams. We will be starting very, very shortly. Or at least as soon as Rumble actually finishes this upload. Okay, Rumble just seems to be being stupid at the moment. YouTube is up. Twitter is up. I'm just waiting for Rumble to actually finish its connection so I can fire that stream. But I had this all set up yesterday and it decided to do something stupid on me. There we go.
You should try yelling at it.
I generally try hitting it actually.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make it work any better, but I feel better. What the? Oh,
yeah, it's like hiring Ammon Bundy. Oh boy,
right.
That was a. Oh man.
So I've added Rumble to the live stream process, but at the moment it's being very difficult in what it's doing. And we'll see if that works. It doesn't like the fact that I guess Rumble likes to change the live stream key for every session, and that is giving it a hard time. So, okay. With that, we're sorry for the slight delay, everyone. Welcome, everyday Americans. You've joined the Constitution study, where we read and study the Constitution. We teach the rising generation to be free. I am glad you could join me. A little kerfuffled at the moment, trying to deal with last-minute technical difficulties, but we are up and running, and we are live on our 3 channels. As always, if you are on the Zoom call, you're more than welcome to ask a question when I ask for them. If you are on one of the live streams, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, the website, put a comment in. I will be checking the comments. You can send me your questions there. I will do my absolute best to answer them. Let's see. We've got a couple. We got North Dakota in. We got Joey Rose is in. Okay. Frequently, I'll come with kind of a kickoff question. Today, I'm coming with a couple of announcements. Now, I want to answer. Tunnel Lord asked a question. The one advantage to the Zoom room is I usually start the Zoom call about 10, 15 minutes before the live streams. So they get to kind of ask questions beforehand. And he was talking about the need for education. I just did an event actually at a county Republican group that is, I don't have a good title for it yet. It started out as the 10th Amendment and it's based around the 10th Amendment, but it is what do we do with the mandates? It's this idea that we are not subjects of government. We are its masters. Isn't it about time we start acting like it? That's nice. That's about 30 minutes plus with Q&A afterwards, about 30, 40 minutes with Q&A afterwards. So that, Tunnel, I said you had two answers. That's one of them. I've actually put that together. I've got another group that's trying to put together an event specifically around this idea of, especially with all these mandates, understanding not only that they're illegal, but what we can do about it. So that's going to be cool, and that may end up as an online event as well. I'm still pondering that, but I got a couple of big announcements. I'm going to be in Tampa, November 9th and 10th. So if anybody is in the Tampa area, check the website, constitutionstudy.com/tour. I'll be doing my Knowing Your Rights tour with a couple of groups in and around the Tampa area. But I got some exciting news. I'm working on something new that you guys might be interested, especially Tunnel Over when you're talking about education. I am planning in 2021 to do a full Constitution study, meaning going through every clause of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution live, online, via Zoom, same routine, right? Read it, talk a little bit about maybe the history or explain a couple of the words, and then let's talk about it and debate it. This is going to be cool. Now, this is going to start off with the Bill of Rights. By the way, dates haven't been set, but my plan is to kind of start announcing it now. The official announcement is going to be November 1st that this is coming, and people can start registering for it then. Now, the way this will work is I will probably do maybe a 3-night Bill of Rights. This is going to take time. This is not a one-night event. This isn't a weekend event. This is going to be a long-term event, probably several months. That's why I haven't worked out the schedule. I'm thinking maybe, one night a week, maybe a couple of different time zone frames to deal with different time zones. But you can sign up. Starting November 1st, you'll be able to sign up for the Bill of Rights absolutely free. So I'm going to do 3 nights of the Bill of Rights. We'll go through the preamble, each and every amendment, every clause. What does it mean? How do we understand it? How do we use it? Then for people who want to go on, they'll be able to purchase the rest of it from the Constitution Scholars. It will include access to the live classrooms. By the way, everything's recorded. So if you sign up for the free Bill of Rights, you'll be able to watch the recordings afterwards. There's no limit on that. If you sign up for the full the whole Constitution study, well, actually, back up a second. So the Bill of Rights, we're going to do the online class. I'm going to have recordings you can participate in, and I'm going to have a community group on Constitution Scholars just for the people who participated in the Bill of Rights 3-day study. I'm also going to give you a digital copy of my book, The Bill of Rights. So you'll have a book to deal with. You'll be able to join the live broadcast, and you'll be able to watch the recordings ad infinitum. All right, there's no time limit on. I'm not planning a time limit on how long you can watch the recordings. Still figuring that out, but that's the plan. The full Constitution study, I'm going to give you full access to all of the live Zoom meetings, recordings of all of the live Zoom meetings. I'm actually going to set up quizzes and tests so that you can actually get a certificate that says you've completed a Constitution study. So if you have a child that wants some extra credit, or maybe you're a homeschool parent and you're looking for a civics credit, that's going to be part of that. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming up. It will be announced November 1st on constitutionstudy.com/study. This, I think, is going to be kind of neat because I've had people ask me to do a Constitution study, and now it's going to be available online And I'm thinking about throwing in some extra goodies in there as well for those who are interested. So that's kind of exciting. I'm still looking for dates for the Constitution, for the Knowing Your Rights tour. I did have somebody reach out with another possible location, still working out the details. Still want to come up north, probably in the springtime when the weather turns nice. But there's a lot going on and a lot that I've been working on. And hopefully this is the type of stuff that that you guys are interested in. That is, I know if you like the Q&As, hopefully you like the study, because it's the same, it's a similar format. It's just, instead of you guys just asking random questions, we'll be focusing on each clause of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So with that, anybody here, if I can find my, there we go, view the live stream. And all right, I'm ready for questions. If anybody's got questions, by all means, either in the Zoom call them out. If you're on one of the live streams, then please type them in the comments and let's get to the questions.
Okay, let me just get my questions. Okay, so in Article 3, Section 2, Article 3, Section 2, it says the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution. And I was wondering what law and equity, well, law is obvious, but what is equity?
So law is crime, equity is basically a civil case.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So yeah, basically it's anything, it's a difference between someone charged with a crime. So for example, we talk about Title 18, Section 242, the crime of depriving someone of a right. That's a criminal case. That's a case under law. If you sue the federal government for depriving your rights, that is a case at equity. So.
Now, I don't know if anyone else has a question.
Well, so far the questioners have been pretty quiet. I was hoping maybe I get a little bit of a attention. A couple people would pop up an idea here. And for those of you who, by the way, are I don't know if anybody's watching on the website. I don't get stats for that. I did add the chat window to the main chat window to the website. So when people type in chats, it'll pop up on the website too, so you can follow. It doesn't do the Rumble, but does everybody else. So the question is, what are we talking about? Well, hello, Arizona. DJ, I was actually, I almost ended up in Arizona next week, but that got let go. That was a whole nother question. Right now, I'm looking for questions. You got a question about the Constitution? Let her rip, and I'll do my best to answer it.
So, Article 1, Section 8 says to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the employment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress.
Right.
So is that just like is it I don't know. It sounds kind of.
All right, let's break it down here. So you understand that we have an Army and a Navy. Those forces have been expanded to the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and now the Space Force. Which, as a side note, I find it absolutely hilarious that if you go to West Point, you're an Army cadet. If the Space Force ever sets up its own academy, does that make you a space cadet? I don't know. I just find that humorous. But so if you look, and if that's part of Section 8, there are several powers delegated to Congress revolving around the military. You have the power to declare war, to support armies, to provide and maintain a navy, to provide the rules and regulations for the land and naval forces. Then we get into the militia. So we got the provide for the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. You know, the one thing it doesn't say is to send them on foreign endeavors. The militia belongs to the states, right? It's the state militia. So this whole idea of using the National Guard overseas constitutionally doesn't really hold water. But to get to the clause you're talking about, so it says to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia. So I'm here in Tennessee, Tunnel Europe, and Idaho. We have our own state militias. Now they have to have an organization. There's an organ. They say, well, the Congress has the ability to organize them. So actually, Congress passed a law and said, okay, the National Guard and the reserves are the organized militia, and they're going to be organized this way. They're under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Here's how they're organized. They're armed, so the federal government can provide money for arming and disciplining the militia, and for governing them when they are in service to the United States. Very, very important to understand that until they are called up by Congress, the militia are not in service to the United States. They're in service to their state. This is very important for two reasons. One, the only time that federal law can be used to govern the militia, in other words, the only time they're under federal control is when they're called up by Congress, not by the president, right? Because just above that says Congress has the power to provide for calling forth the militia. Now, Congress likes to delegate their powers to the executive, but that ability to call forth the militia is restricted. And it also becomes important because the president is the commander, the chief of the militia only when they're in actual service to the United States. So the president is not the commander in chief of your local National Guard until they're called up to federal service. Right? Then you go on to say, but no matter what, so even though Congress can provide for the militia, they actually say can organize a militia, can arm the militia, can set rules for disciplining the militia, they cannot appoint officers for the militia. And this is important because if you think about a military force, you have the officers and the enlisted. And the officers, well, they're supposed to be the rulers. They're the ones that are issuing orders. In fact, I believe it's the Army oath of office for the enlisted men says that they will follow all lawful orders of the officers placed above them. So if you think about it, the officers are appointed and controlled by the states, even while even though the organizing and disciplining is done by can be done by acts of Congress, depending on the current state of the militia. Right? Has it been called up by the federal government or not? It means that the states are still in control or the appointment of officers for the militia. So when when the United States decides to call up the militia to guard the U.S. Capitol. Now, there was no insurrection in progress. They like to say there was an insurrection. There was no insurrection in progress. There was no invasion in progress. They could be called to execute the laws of the Union, but the point was the officers were still supposed to be loyal to the states. So when I forget which one of the governors said, listen, Congress, you've called up our National Guard. You're not paying us for them. You're not using them for anything. We're bringing them home. The officers say, yeah, I report to that dude. We're going home. You know, that was the idea, was to make sure that even if the militia were to be called into federal service, there still would be a control, a linkage back to their state that they were there to serve.
Okay, well, that's pretty much I was looking for an explanation because there was I was just interested. Funny story though. I was reading some of Idaho's code, and there it breaks down the militia into three different groups. You know, the organized, unorganized, and then the National Guard. And I misread one of the codes or laws, and I thought for a second it said that the pretty much all branches of the militia can be armed by the state. And I got really excited for a second because I'm like, oh, that means I can walk up to them and say, I'd like night vision, thank you. But then I read it again, and
It did say can be, not must be, right?
no, it specified National Guard. I'm not in the
Oh,
National Guard, so you know, that was I was bummed out because of that. Um,
yeah. We can always hope.
yeah.
Hope. Anyone else got a question? I mean, Tunnel Lord always has questions. I want to make sure other people have a chance in here too. Come on, we love questions. I got 3 people on YouTube. Nobody's got a question. So one of the goofy things about Rumble is when I set up the live stream, they want a kind of a pre-roll, kind of a 60 up to 60-second video telling, announcing the or something with that. And all I could think of to use was a scene from the original Star Trek with, the city on the edge of forever. A question. Since before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have waited for a question.
I
I haven't waited that long, but I'm waiting for a question.
Yeah, I saw you upload on Gab TV.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So I've added a Gab TV channel. I'm starting to upload stuff to that. All my new videos and stuff. My plan is to put it up on Gab as well. If you're connected with Gab, I'm also looking at a locals community. So if you're familiar with locals.com, I'm looking at a locals community. Not entirely sure how I'm going to treat that differently from anything else, because locals was designed to be an alternative to Patreon. But I'm not quite sure. I haven't dug into all the functions and features yet to see what, if anything, I want to put behind a membership wall. So we'll see. No more. Come on. There's got to be questions.
I got some questions.
Don't be shy.
Speak, man. If you have, it doesn't matter what it is, say it.
I haven't eaten this person who asked a question yet. Granted, I've only been around 57 years, but I've yet to eat anybody who has asked a question. No one's gone away bloody or so.
How about lawyers?
Oh, what? Lawyers, like anything else, are on a bell curve. And my guess is the majority of them are okay people. I mean, I know lawyers. I think just many of them are just, they haven't been educated on the Constitution, so they're making bad decisions. And to a certain extent, I don't blame them entirely, because they've been failed by by our legal education system. Then again, I do kind of blame them because they never bothered to what do I want to say, to find out for themselves. So DJ's asked about Rumble acquiring locals. I find it interesting. I like Rumble so far because they claim not to censor. I've yet to get any note from Rumble about anything I've said. They say they're not going to censor. Okay, cool. And their tools are a little behind. Actually, the biggest downside I have to Rumble is they don't have as much content. Sometimes my wife and I at night after, before we go to bed, we'll want to watch a couple of videos, and very few people that we watch are actually available on Rumble. And my other little thing is they don't have an Apple TV app. So I have to actually play it through my phone up on my Apple TV. little bit more difficult, but I just started using their live stream. Their live stream has some interesting quirks. For one, I can't schedule a live stream more than a day ahead of time. I usually schedule my live stream. So like next Thursday is when I'll start scheduling all the stuff for the live streams for the following week. Right. So I'm usually scheduling a week ahead, and Rumble won't let me do it. Rumble likes to change the live stream key, and it's giving me a hard time about doing some of that. So that I think more is a process thing. Locals is interesting. That's what is his name? Dave Rubin. And their claim is it's, again, Patreon without the censorship. And they seem to have some very interesting tools. They have, yes, they have an app, an Android and an iOS app. They have direct messaging. They have, I've been doing video uploads to the community, trying to get some stuff put in place. They don't have a rich text editor, which would be nice, and they have a live stream. And I was looking at the live stream. The only problem is the live stream only works direct off the web page. And I need it to work off of an RMTP service because I'm streaming to multiple platforms at the same time. So hopefully they're growing, they'll fix that. What I find most interesting is Dan Bongino, who is an investor in Rumble, makes it sound like they're planning to actually compete with AWS. And that would be interesting. If that pops up, I may give it a try. I've been looking for hosting options for my websites. The websites I have gotten very, they've got lots of plugins, lots of code that runs. And my current provider, it's a little sluggish. And if my first reaction was, gee, I'd love to go something like AWS, but I don't trust Amazon to not, just shut my website down because they don't like it. If Rumble does something like that, I might consider moving the Constitution Society and Constitution Scholars over to it. What I see here is what Rumble and Locals and places like Gab and Telegram and all that are doing is they're saying they're giving us another option. Now that option is not as feature rich yet. It is not as widespread yet, but when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they ended with, and we pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And if we're going to hold that true, well, then that includes where we spend our money. Our fortunes are not just what money we have, it's where we spend it. It's why I pay for Gab TV. It's why I pay for Rumble live stream, because I don't want to be the product. They have to make their money somehow. I'm fine with that. I'm hoping that by not being dependent on other big tech companies, they can do what Parler was not able to, and that is avoid the shutdown. And sadly, once Parler got shut down, they never came back right. I tried for 2 months to get back on Parler, and I couldn't even get a tech support to answer a simple question. They changed the login process. They went from a phone number to an email. I never gave them an email. How do I log in? I could never even get them to give me a straight answer for that. So I'm hopeful. Let's see. So Racine County, Wisconsin press conference. Interesting. Well, again, not entirely surprised that there was election fraud. I've already documented evidence of illegal activity among the states when it comes to the presidential election.
Banned.
Huh?
Banned.
Oh, you know what? Big fat hairy deal. I mean, that's why I'm on Rumble. That's why I'm on Locals. That's why I'm on my own website, because, if they can't handle the truth, then let them go be spoiled little brats. I don't care. Freedom of speech includes the willingness to say something that somebody doesn't like. If they don't like it, they can pack their bags and go home. And if YouTube bounces me off, so everybody here, I got 4 people watching, everybody here on YouTube, here's what I want you to do. Now, so far, I've gotten 1 warning from YouTube. I've been booted from Facebook. I've had 1 warning from YouTube. Do me a favor, bookmark my website, constitutionstudy.com, because if YouTube bounces me, if they block me, you can still follow me on the website, constitutionstudy.com. I'm doing the live streams right there. In fact, you can go there now. I'm looking at the page, and not only does it have, can you watch the live stream, I have the chat from the main sites, Twitter and YouTube is up there as well. So, and I'm looking for more tools to help with that. If I can get on a more powerful system, I may even ditch those products for live streaming. I may try to live stream myself. I don't know. It's still something to work on. But it's, I am not surprised to find out. In fact, nowadays, I'd be surprised if they don't find fraud. If you've got 160 million people voting, you cannot tell me there isn't one person in that group that doesn't have a nefarious motive. I'm sorry. The odds are against you. So the question becomes, what are they doing to help prevent fraud in the future? Who knows? It'll be interesting. Who else? Who's got a question? Since before this live stream went live.
Oh, I guess this is a good question. So I don't think anywhere in the U.S. Constitution did the states give the federal government authority over their state land. I haven't seen anything like that.
No, but you're in the West, and what the West did is they sold their public land for entry into the Union. So yeah, if you don't know, the United States government owns most of the land in the Western U.S. I mean, ridiculous numbers, like 84% of Nevada, 75% of, is it New Mexico? I don't know. It's huge percentages. And the way they did this was, I mean, this would make the Corleones proud. So you have a state that wants to enter the Union. Congress, or the Constitution says Congress can allow states to enter the Union. So they do this through what's called an enabling act. Congress passes legislation that says, okay, state, you can join the Union. Now, in that enabling act, they added this little piece of language that says the state must basically turn over all public lands to the United States to be disposed of. And it sounds like, okay, the state will give the federal government the ability to dispose of its public land, right? Because it's going from a territory to a state to part of the United States. They bought it. It was a land grab. The federal government never bothered to dispose of the land for the states. So I do believe technically the United States is in default, of its duties, its responsibilities under these enabling acts by not disposing of the public land, because the federal government is not legally allowed to own land except for, and actually that's back in Article 1, Section 8, the District of Columbia, the seat of the federal government, as well as, where is it? Oh yeah, forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. It says nothing about a national park. It says nothing about national monuments. It says nothing about, ecological protected zones. So the federal government is not allowed to own that land. So they shouldn't have had it in the Enabling Act to begin with. But they said they'd dispose of it, and they never did, which is why the federal government controls so much of the land in Western United States, including all the ranchers, all the farmers, all the energy companies, all the timber companies, because the federal government owns so much of that land that they basically swindled from the states. Any more questions? Lost a couple people on the Zoom call. Don't know what happened. Still got people on the YouTube. Hey, YouTube. I don't see any questions on Rumble. So, Joey, if you watch the press conference, what have you anything there really spark your interest and say, wow, they found fraud? I'm kind of curious, what were the big bombshells there? Of course, we've had big bombshells with our Attorney General weaponizing the Department of Justice against parents that don't like what the school board's doing, what their local school boards are doing. That's been fun. And it, again, I can't say that what they do surprises me. I just wish the American people would stand up and do something about it. We keep sitting back and waiting for someone else to protect us, to protect our rights. In fact, the only one I heard was, I believe it was the governor of Alabama issued an executive order forbidding state agencies from, how'd she put it? Not enforcing federal mandates, participating in federal vaccine mandates, participating in federal vaccine mandates. She basically said, no, you can't do this here. Now, she said, you can't use us to do it, which is a very interesting point. But which is, to me, a step in the right direction, right? First, you tell them you can't use us to do it. Then maybe you stand up and say, no, we didn't authorize this. You can't legally do it. There was a couple examples. That was one. There was a county, where was it? Elkhart, Indiana, a county that actually turned down federal money. They turned down a federal bribe because in the grant that the federal government wanted to offer them to, help healthcare for the poor and indigent, was a requirement that the county basically enforce federal mandates. And the county looked at it and says, no, the price tag of this free money is too high. That was nice to see. And then my personal favorite, the UN. You remember this past winter, Texas had all that problem with, with the energy grid, the electrical grid, and the UN basically was some conference or report or something and said, Texas, you need to go green. You need to do this. You need to do that. And Governor Abbott tweeted back to them, and his exact words were, Texas to UN, pound sand. I love it. Okay, folks, I'm still looking for some more questions in here. There are no there's only two stupid questions in the world. One of them is the question you don't ask. The other one's the one you ask 3 times. But if you've got a question, please ask it. I'd love the chance to answer it. Ooh, I have a chat pop up. What do we got here? I guess Andy's having some technology interviews. I had tech issues at the beginning too. So, but let's see. Hey, still looking for those questions. Awful quiet. Come on, nobody on YouTube. DJ, Joey, North Dakota.
Oh, well, I've got a question. Um,
Okay.
so, I've heard in some places that, when you join the military, you lose your rights. I don't think that's really possible because nowhere in Article 6, Clause 2 does it state that. Like your rights don't do due process, like they can't force jab you without going through due process of law. So, yeah, I think
But
that's neat.
again, when you join the military, you do voluntarily give up some of your rights. You do, for example, your right to free speech is limited. You're not allowed to share certain information. You're not allowed to make derogatory statements about your commanders. Um, these are written into the contract that you sign when you join the military. So they're not taken from you. You voluntarily agree. Let's face it, your right to life is you voluntarily give the government the authority to tell you where to go, to tell you how to live, and even to order you to do something that could even probably get you killed. So when you join the military, you do voluntarily give up some of your rights. And what is really sad is how those rights mean, how those sacrifices are being treated. It is, to me, incredibly sad that many military personnel, many of the listed personnel are paid so poorly that they have to live on food stamps. That is sad. I saw an article where the Marines are basically saying, take the jab or get out. To look at such groups that are so devoted to honor and service and duty to be treated in such a way, to me, really says a lot about the state of our nation and uh, the lack of respect that leadership in the military is treating the military. To have a bureaucrat, a politician, especially one who's never served in the military, piss all over the military is one thing. To have generals and command and colonels in the Marine Corps tell the Marines, get the jab or go home, really says a lot about the quality of leadership that has been promoted within the military service, including the Marine Corps. It's funny. I think our next live stream is actually going to be Veterans Day, and I hope on that day that we can honor our veterans and not treat them like subhuman beasts to be used and thrown aside at the whim of some politician. So yeah, that's it. And then there's another question was typed in here. Does all men created equal in the Declaration hold standing when the Constitution with abortion? I believe you covered this in a recent podcast. Let's say they're not born equal. I have used the term. So when it comes to abortion, first of all, the Declaration of Independence is not binding law. It's an announcement of an act of the Continental Congress, specifically the ratification of the Lee Resolution that said we are independent from Great Britain. But it does establish the reasons why. In other words, if you look at what's said in the Declaration, you'll find something in the Constitution that's meant to either prevent or support something that was stated in the Declaration. So when it says that all men are created equal, well, obviously in 1776, all men weren't treated equal because we still had slavery. And when we ratified the Constitution, we didn't get rid of slavery. In fact, one of the members of the Continental Congress that drafted the Constitution refused to sign the document because it did not abolish slavery. But when you come to the question of, and I use the term born equal when it talks about rights. So if I can claim that my rights supersede your rights, we are not equal. And that blows up the whole general idea of this country, this idea that we're all created equal. Now, when it comes to abortion, the constitutional issue isn't the Declaration. It's actually Amendment 5 and Amendment 14 of the Constitution, both of which say you cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Now, I don't know about you, but if you see a body and you're not sure it's alive, the first thing you do is check for a pulse. If there's a heartbeat, it's alive. So, for example, the Texas heartbeat bill basically says, listen, if there's a heartbeat, there's a life. We are required by the 14th Amendment not to deprive that person of life without due process. Now, I know people like to argue about whether or not it's a person and all that. It is a human being. It has human DNA. It is dependent on another human. It currently resides inside another human, but a DNA test will prove it is a different human being. It is not a tumor. It's not just a clump of cells from the mother. It is its own DNA. It's its own human being. Therefore, it cannot, if we deprive it of life without due process, then we're breaking the law. We're violating the Constitution, and we're breaking federal law. Now, the interesting thing is about that is Roe v. Wade kind of went all around this, and they said, well, the issue is not heartbeat, the detection of a heartbeat. They said it was viability, the point at which the child was viable outside the womb. This has become interesting because as medical science has improved, the time of viability has gone earlier and earlier, but they completely ignored this whole sense of the presence of life. If you cannot, if you see a heartbeat, therefore you can't terminate someone if they're outside the womb, what is the legal justification for doing that inside the womb? And the answer is there's none, unless you're basically trying to make a distinction that the 6 inches of the birth canal are the difference between life and death. And medically, logically, that just doesn't hold. All right, DJ has a question. Is it legal for In-N-Out to be shut down for refusing to enforce vaccine mandates? Interestingly enough, I'm going to have that, I think, Monday on my radio program. I'm talking about, among other things, the In-N-Out burger that was shut down. My answer is no, because I'm trying to remember the details. I actually looked at the California Constitution, and the California Constitution says that they cannot deprive them of the property of their business without due process of law. And since the reason they're shutting them down is because, well, if you don't check people for vaccines, people are going to die, and that medically has been proven to be untrue, well, they have no due process basis to do this. Besides, it wasn't created by law. It was created, I believe, by executive order. So you have that whole issue. I've actually been interested because there are actually two In-N-Out burgers. The one in San Francisco, they shut down temporarily and they allowed to reopen without in-person dining. But if you read the statement by, I think it's their legal counsel or some officer of In-N-Out, they basically say, hey, we're not the cops. It's not our job to enforce state law. Listen, we've posted the signs. We've let people know it is not our job to enforce state law. That's why this shutdown order is wrong. Personally, I think it'd be pretty cool if that In-N-Out burger opened anyway and said, listen, you don't have the right to deprive us of our business license or our health department certification simply because we won't enforce your illegal mandates on our customers. We won't become your police officers. Sorry, we won't do it. Especially, and actually be an interesting twist, being that it would come through lawyers, that since In-N-Out Burger is not the people who work at In-N-Out are not government agents, they are not protected by qualified immunity, meaning if they do this in deprivation of people's rights, they can be sued and they can't claim qualified immunity to protect themselves from lawsuits. So that would be interesting. So my answer is it legal? Well, legal is often used for a term of laws that are passed. I think those laws are invalid because they violate the Constitution of both California and the United States. So no, I think I should be able to go down and get my double animal style without being molested by In-N-Out and having In-N-Out being willing to stand up and say, no, we won't do this. We should support them. If I lived in California, I'd be looking for my double animal style. That's the only thing I know about In-N-Out Burger. I've only been there a couple times. I used to have a really good friend who was born and raised in California, and I will never forget the first time we flew there on business. We both lived in the same general area, so we flew together out to California for a meeting. I forget what it was, and I remember landing in the San Francisco airport, renting a car, and the first thing we had to do was find an In-N-Out burger. That was his requirement. He had to have his In-N-Out because he hadn't had it for a while. So let's see. Joey says the Election Commission blatantly disobeyed a law that put election deputies in nursing homes or other places like it. Oh, that's interesting. So here's the question. Again, all right, so you have laws. There are two questions that immediately need to be answered. The first is, what is the remedy? Now, there is no remedy for the presidential office, but I'd be curious what the state says is the remedy for other offices. And then question number two is, where are the indictments? Because if the election commission, we say the election commission, there are people, right? Those are people on the election commission. If they broke the law, if they violated the law, they need to be held accountable. And so, I don't know what the penalties are in Wisconsin law for disobeying the election guidelines. But I'm sure with a little bit of research, you could find not just civil penalties, but crimes that these individuals committed. And you know what? I'm tired of, what they did was wrong, but no. If you committed a crime, you do the time. Well, we thought we could, don't care. You did the crime, you do the time. So who knows? Do I really expect them to be charged? No. We've had 4 years of criminal activity. I take it back, 6 years. We've had lies under oath before Congress. We have had fraud. We have had criminal conduct in the FBI, and so far no one's been indicted. So that's the problem with asking the government to police the government. Courts are part of the government. The departments of justice that investigate are part of government. That's why we need to hold those people accountable and stop waiting for someone else to do it for us. Okay, so more questions. No. Yes, no, maybe.
What are you going to eat when you get down to Florida?
What am I going to eat?
Yeah, it's Florida.
I don't know. I'll find something good. You know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for something. I'm actually considering selling this on the website. Big old fat banner that says, "We respect your rights. No mask, no vaccine, no problem." I see that sign in a restaurant. That's where I'm going to eat. Now, I've still only got 2 locations in Florida. I'm still looking for more. Anybody between Nashville and anywhere in Florida, I'm still interested. If you can put a group, doesn't need to be a big group. I talked to, was it last week? I talked to a group of patriots. We had about 10, 12 people there, had a great time. Just this past Tuesday, I talked to a county Republican Party group and had a good time. Actually, that was a great time. because it started out with everybody, they were answering my questions and my callbacks and all of that. And by the end, I had everybody kind of not quite slack jawed, but this look in their eyes of, oh crap, what do we do now? Do I think Virginia? How do I think Virginia will vote in the gubernatorial race? I don't try to predict what people do. Let's face it. Was it Northern Virginia is basically just a suburb of DC. It's the swamp. It's got, and it's interesting. It's got I think it's got like one or two of the richest counties in the country are in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. I think there are a lot of people who, I think Terry McAuliffe really stepped in it when he said that parents don't have the right to have a say in what their children get taught. I think that really aggravated people, especially after seeing what's been going down in Loudoun, Virginia. Oh my word. You talk about a haven of scum and villainy. Wow. The Loudoun School District is a disaster. So I think there's a lot of upset, but I also doubt that it's going to be a free and fair and open election. So I think how the people vote, I'm sure the people in Northern Virginia will vote for Terry McAuliffe. I think the southern and western parts of Virginia are more likely to vote for what's the other guy's name? Yannick or something like that. I'm drawing a blank. But I think there's going to be. I think if the election was actually audited, it would look more like Georgia in 2020. I'm fully expecting fraud. That if it was audited, there'd be fraud on a massive scale. I think if they audited the California recall election, they would find fraud on a massive scale. Now, that's my opinion. I haven't had any proof, but and to be blunt, if you're hoping that the Virginia governor is going to fix the problems in Virginia, you're hoping in a pipe dream. Now, I'm not saying the governor can't make things better or worse, but let's face it, they're a politician, which means they're lying when their lips are moving. It means that they're going to be bound to a political party, and they're going to be driven in large part by party politics. That's just the way things are nowadays, and I doubt anyone have asked either of those candidates and gotten a decent answer to a simple question. Show me where you have fulfilled your oath to support the Constitution of the United States and of Virginia when it was difficult to do so. I don't mean give me a party platform. Don't hide behind rhetoric. Don't tell me about your NRA rating. Show me where you refused to vote for legislation because some part of it was unconstitutional, where you signed legislation that was unpopular because it was constitutional. It was and fulfilled some constitutional duty that you were required to fulfill. Show me. If you can't do that, I don't think either candidate is worthy of the office, because we don't vet candidates based on their fidelity to their oath of the Constitution. We vet them primarily on political party. And after that, personality. And if you like the person, they're great. If you dislike the person, they're the next worst thing since Satan. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. So it would be nice if Virginia, I think it'd be better for the people of Virginia if Terry McAuliffe lost. But I'm not going to be at all surprised to wake up in a week and a half, a week, something like that, and find out that Terry McAuliffe won, and possibly even won by a decent margin. People are fickle. More questions. Well, it's only been an hour, but if we're out of questions, and we're out of questions.
Yeah, I've asked all my questions.
Yeah. So just to recap, yes, I'm still going to Florida. I'm hopefully possibly be going to Northern California. I'm trying to work that deal out right now. And November 1st, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, the announcement will come out in the newsletter. November 1st, I'll be announcing the online Constitution study. All the details will be available at constitutionstudy.com/study Monday, November 1st. I'll be talking about it in the newsletter and a couple other things that are going on in the newsletter. By the way, newsletter is absolutely free. And by the way, if you're worried about YouTube or any of these platforms censoring my material, if you sign up for the newsletter, there's a checkbox and I will send you my articles and the videos when they publish direct to your email. Don't worry about YouTube or anybody getting in the way. So if that's it, if we got no more questions, I suppose we'll call it a night. Thanks everyone. We had a turnout. It was better the last couple of events. I'm hoping to generate more. So if you got some ideas, please let me know. I've been all about getting the word out and spreading the news. That's why, again, I started Gab, I started Locals. We'll see what we can do. And like I said, I believe our next live stream is November 11th, which is Veterans Day. Not quite sure how I'm going to work that out. I'm probably still going to be in Florida, but I'm still working out the details. Anyhow, have a good night, everyone, and hopefully see you in a couple weeks.